Hello, magandang araw sa inyong lahat. I am going to discuss about the needs assessment process. This section examines the three elements of needs assessment: organizational analysis, person analysis, and task analysis. What is organizational analysis? Organizational analysis involves identifying whether training supports the company's strategic direction, whether managers, peers, and employees support training activity, and what training resources are available. They provide questions that trainer should answer in an organizational analysis. It's either documentation, interviews, or focus groups of managers and individuals in the training function should be used to answer these questions. Now let's start with company's strategic direction. The strategic role of training influences the frequency and type of training and how the training function is organized in the company. Meaning, before they conduct training, they should identify whether it's aligned on company's goals and objectives. In companies in which training is expected to contribute to the achievement of business strategies and goals, the amount of money allocated to training and the frequency of training will be likely be higher than in companies in which training is done haphazardly or with no strategic intent in mind. Simply, the greater the strategic role of training, the more likely the company will organize the training function using the business embedded or corporate university models. Both these models emphasize that training is used to help solve business problems. Next is support of managers, peers, and employees for training activities. The key factors for success are a positive attitude among peers, managers, and employees about participation in training activities. Managers and peers' willingness to provide information to trainees about how they can be more effectively use knowledge, skill, or behaviors learned in training on the job, and opportunities for trainees to use training content in their jobs. If peers and managers' attitudes and behaviors are not supportive, employees are not likely to apply training content to their jobs. Next is training resources. Training resources. It is necessary to identify whether the company has the budget, time, and expertise for training. One way to identify training resources is for companies that have similar operations or departments located across the country or the world to share practices. Choosing a vendor or consultant. If company decides to purchase a training program from a consultant or vendor rather than build the program in-house, it is important to choose a high-quality provider. Training providers may include individual consultants, consulting firms, or academic institutions. Many companies identify vendors and consultants who can provide training services by using requests for proposals. So what is request for proposals? A request for proposals or RFP is a document that outlines for potential vendors and consultants the type of service the company is seeking, the type and number of reference needed, the number of employees who need to be trained, funding for the project, the follow-up process used to determine level of satisfaction in service, the expected date of completion of the project, and the date when proposals must be received by the company. RFP may be mailed to potential consultants and vendors or posted on the company's website. RFP is valuable because it provides a standard set of criteria against which all consultants will be evaluated. RFP also helps eliminate the needs to evaluate outside vendors that cannot provide the needed services. Usually, the RFP helps to identify several vendors who met the criteria. The next step is to choose the preferred provider. Managers and trainers should check the vendor's reputation by contacting prior clients and professional organizations. Managers should carefully consider the services, materials, and fees outlined in the consulting contract. It is also important to consider the extent to which the training program will be customized based on the company's needs or whether the consultant is going to provide training services based on the generic framework that it applies to many different organizations. Now, let's proceed to person analysis. Person analysis helps to identify employees who needs training. Dito naman, nagfo-focus kung sino naman yung may kailangan ng training. Kung kanina sa organizational analysis, na-identify kung anong klaseng training yung gagawin. Person analysis also helps determining employees' readiness for training. Readiness for training. Readiness for training refers to whether employees have the personal characteristic, ability, attitudes, beliefs, and motivation necessary to learn program content and apply it on the job, and the work environment will facilitate learning and not interfere with the performance. This process includes evaluating person characteristics, input, output, consequences, and feedback. Process for person analysis. Person characteristics, input, output, consequences, feedback, and feedback influences the motivation to learn. Pag sinabing process, usually it should be in order. So, first, person characteristics. It refers to the employee's knowledge, skill, ability, and attitudes. Meron namang tatlo. Basic skills, self-efficacy, awareness of training's needs, career, interests, goals. Sa basic skills, meron naman dalawa. Cognitive ability, which is research shows that cognitive ability influence learning and job performance. At ang isa naman ay reading level. Lack of the appropriate reading level can impede performance and learning in training programs. Ang ibig sabihin nito, readability refers to the difficulty level of written materials A readability assessment usually involves analysis of sentence length and word difficulty. Dapat meron silang mga basic skills bago mag-start ng training. Next is self-efficacy. It is employees' belief that they can successfully perform their job or learn the content of the training program. In short, dapat meron silang dedication. Next is awareness of training needs, career, interests, and goals. Balik tayo sa process for person analysis. After ng person characteristics, next naman dyan ay yung input. It relates to the instructions that tell employees what, how, and when to perform. Also refers to the resources that the employees are given to help them perform. These resources may include equipment, time, or budget. Next is output. Output refers to the job's performance standards. In output, trainees need to understand what specifically they are expected to learn in the training program. Next is consequences. It refers to the type of incentives that employees receive for performing well. That is norms, benefits, or even rewards. Norms refers to accepted standards of behavior for work group members. Yung benefits and rewards, obviously, alam naman na natin yan. Could be incentives. Next is feedback. It refers to the information that employees receive while they are performing. Frequency, specificity, and detail. Employees need to be specific, detailed feedback of effective and ineffective performance. For employees to perform to standard, feedback needs to be given frequently and not just during a yearly performance evaluation. Next is motivation to learn. It is trainees' desire to learn the content of training programs. Consider how your motivation to learn may be influenced by personal characteristic and the environment. Motivation to learn, ito yung overall after gawin yung process for person analysis. Dahil nabibuild dito yung kanilang motivation para matuto. And that follows learning and job performance. Mas lalong mag-i-improve yung learning na nakukuha nila at pati na rin yung job performance nila.